Hey, welcome to another edition of My Life as Your State Representative. Bill Post here with you. It is week 12. Can you believe that? Week 12. Whew, man. Do you know that this is actually the halfway mark? Actually, technically yesterday, April 23rd, was what some people here call hump day. April 23rd was the halfway point if we were to go the full constitutional length of the legislative session. This is the halfway point. A little bit of a break today, as there has been the last couple of Fridays, because we had some pretty long sessions this week on the floor. We do not have a floor session today, and there are no committee meetings today. Now, part of that is, let me tell you a little bit. I hope you enjoy these little sort of civics lessons that I'm giving you, because they're really civics lessons that I'm learning as I'm in this building. So this week was a crucial week in the life of a bill, not me, but a bill. And I'll tell you why. So Monday and Tuesday was crazy around here, and the reason is because there's a deadline, 5 p.m. on Tuesday of this past week, for bills to get out of the Oregon House and over to the Oregon Senate, and from the Oregon Senate over to the Oregon House. So the deadline was the bill had to get into and out of a work session in a committee. So let me give you a quick rundown of how this works. So you have a bill, the speaker assigns it to a certain committee. It goes to that committee, it has a public hearing, and then it has a work session. Work session is just another way of saying that's where the committee members then vote on that to move it on to the House floor, which then moves it over to the Senate. Okay, so the point is, by Tuesday at 5 p.m., all the bills that were in work sessions or scheduled for work session had to be worked and voted on, or they were dead bills. And depending on each chair of each committee, they all have different ways of how they run things. And you know, I'm not trying to be partisan here, but the Democrats are in the majority, which means they are the chairs of every single committee, and they do whatever they're going to do. And so a lot of bills went screaming out of the building because they died on Tuesday at about 5 o'clock. Or sometimes they died earlier on Tuesday because whatever time that committee was, the committee chair. I kind of get a kick out of, there's a guy right next to me, right there across that wall. He is one of the Democrats that I absolutely really admire and enjoy talking to, and that is Representative Brad Witt. He's a Democrat, but you know what? He's a solid guy. I really like him a lot. And one of the things I enjoy watching him is when he chairs the Ag and Natural Resources Committee. He's just honest. If the bill's going to die, he just, at least he doesn't say, well, we're not going to work that one. He just says, this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill, dead. Whether you like it or not, it is what it is. At least he's blunt and honest about it, and I like that. So, so there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth on Tuesday when bills died. So now what happens? They move over to the Senate for the Senate to go through the whole process, and the Senate bills come over to the House for them to do the same process here. So it's kind of a fascinating process, but Tuesday was a very interesting day. It was a very long day. Every committee went very long because they had long lists of bills. I give you an idea, just a visual aid here. This was my Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. These were all the bills that we worked on Tuesday and passed on to the House floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now that was on Tuesday. On Monday there were 14, I think. So it was 27 bills, something like that. And then in rural communities there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 bills that we worked on the last day in rural communities and land use committee. Whew, man, it was crazy. And then Wednesday was a pretty long floor session. Thursday was a pretty long floor session voting on bills. And then, of course, the subject of the week that I need to pause and tell you a little bit about, because I don't want this, as I've said from day one of doing, and this is week 12 now, from week 1 of doing these videos, I said I didn't want this to really be partisan. I didn't want it to be political. But this is such an important issue, I have to take some time for it right now. Senate Bill 941, that's the Universal Background Check bill. I was very, very honored to be asked to be a guest committee member on Wednesday night when the hearing was held in the Rules Committee down in the basement in Hearing Room 50. Chair Val Hoyle, who is also the Democrat Majority Leader, invited me to be a guest member of that committee. So I was there for that hearing. Now, the thing I want to say, I want to give credit to Representative Hoyle for doing this. Unlike over in the Senate with Senator Floyd Przansky, he just had a hearing for a couple of hours and that was it. A lot of people were turned away and not everybody got to say their piece. Representative Hoyle said, everybody's going to talk. We will be here until 10 p.m. And we started at 1 p.m. Eventually it did get over at about 8:30. Everybody got to speak that wanted to speak, that signed up to speak, and then even at the end she said, is there anybody here that wants to talk? And one or two guys came, and then that was it. Everybody got to speak for 7.5 hours from both sides of the argument. So it was very fair and it was very well done. The thing that I'm not happy about is that due to the leadership of the majority party, this bill was fast-tracked through the Senate, it's fast-tracked through the House. Normally there would be a public hearing and then it might be a day or two or three before you have a work session. But in this case, Wednesday night at 8:30, the gavel banged, the public hearing was over. The next day at 1 o'clock, the gavel banged, there was a work session held, and Senate Bill 941 passed out of that committee on a 5-4 party line vote. Multiple amendments were attempted to be inserted, which basically were what we call gut and stuffs, where we take the entire language of the bill, remove it, and put in new language that would have been much more palatable, would not have restricted guns. It was good stuff written by Republicans. There were 25 of those amendments, and all were denied on a party line vote. So now what happens? Senate Bill 941 goes to a second reading, probably on Monday, in the House, on the House floor, and then it will be voted on Tuesday or Wednesday on the House floor. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Check my Facebook page and my website for updates. But we're going to vote on it. Here's the deal. We need 5 Democrats to vote no. I believe, I'm not going to say who, I believe there are 4 right now. There needs to be 1 more. And I'm going to tell you something. I want you to understand the pressure that they are under. Remember, they're the majority party. Many of them are given the gavel to be chairs of committees. That is a threat that can be held against them. The threat is, if you, Representative X, go across us and vote no on this bill, you're going to lose your gavel, or you're going to get primaried, or whatever threat there might be. And that's the reality of being in this building that I've learned. There are threats. So those 5 people have to be strong and firm and be willing to take and face the threats of their own party. Now, what I want you to do is understand the Republicans are locked up. We're all no votes. No Republican is going to vote for SB 941. Trust me on that. Nobody. On the House Democrat side, I believe that there are 4 or 5. We need 5, but I believe that there are several that we could convince that it would be safer for them, especially in 2016 elections, to vote no on this. That's where you come in. You've got to email them. Don't email everybody. Just email the Democrats. Be kind, be considerate, write personal emails. Don't blast them all at one time. Don't use a form letter from some website. You know, God bless Oregon Firearms Federation, but don't use theirs. Write your own. Write your own passionate argument for why you believe that this is an infringement on the Second Amendment rights. What you might want to do is go to my website, billpost.us, that's billpost.us, or my Facebook page. Go to Facebook and then search for Bill Post for Oregon. I have a link there that I'm putting up shortly from the East Oregonian newspaper that talks about how background checks are already being implemented and have been for a long time, and that they're not working. Meaning, they're working. Let me rephrase that. They're working in that they're stopping the bad people from getting guns, but they're not preventing. Shootings from happening. Anyway, you need to read the article. I don't want to try to blab a whole article right here. You just need to read the article. It's really fascinating numbers. So anyway, that would be I would implore you to do this. And then keep in mind that we're going to be voting on it later this week. So that's the big news for this week. Otherwise, it was a very long week. There was some very long days, and the days are now going to get much longer as we have the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bills that come from the Senate now. The Senate will be voting on the hundreds and hundreds of bills from the House, and that's what it is in this place now. Now it is voting on bills. So I want to leave you with a positive thought, and because you know what, I'm not a negative kind of a person. I'm a positive person. One thing that's happened is I've developed a lot of really good relationships in this building. You know why? Because I try to be kind. As if you know me at all, you know that I'm a firm believer in the Bible and God's Word, and His Word never returns void, and it's always valuable stuff. And one of the things that Paul wrote to, I believe it was Timothy, maybe it was the church at Thessalonica, but anyway, he wrote in one of those two books, always try to be kind. Now remember, that was the first memory verse that my 22-year-old son Kai, when he was a little boy, he came home with a Bible memory verse, and he said, always try to be kind. And I do. Sometimes it's hard because there are people that you're completely opposed to politically, but you know what? They're people, and they have cares, and they have needs, and they have kids and grandkids and husbands and wives and friends, and they care too. I just may not agree with the things that they care about, and they may not agree with the things I care about. But I always try to be kind. I always try to show the face of Christ if I can. And so I've developed relationships, and the funny thing is, I've not had to compromise my principles at all. By the way, one of the highlights of this week was I got to go meet Governor Brown at her house here in Salem, the governor's mansion. And I had a lot of people that were giving me a hard time, saying, why would you do that? What are you doing? Sucking up to her and doing, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, no, you know what? One, she's the governor. Two, I was honored. And three, always try to be kind. She and I had an interesting conversation, many conversations that night, but this one stands out. And this is what I mean by I'm not compromising my principles, but I'm always kind. She locked her arm in mine, like this. Anyway, she had her arm locked in mine. She's a little tiny person. And she said to me, Bill, can I count on you to be a yes on a transportation package? And I looked her right in the eye and I said, Governor, I was a no before it was fashionable to be a no. And I smiled. She smiled at me, and she clinked her glass against mine, and she said, that's why I like you, Bill Post. Now, you see, I didn't have to say, well, Governor, you're wrong. Why would you do all that stuff? Governor, I'm a no. Always have been a no. But I respect you. You're my governor. Thank you. And she respects me. And you know what? I see her now and then in the hallway or down in the parking garage or something. She always says, hi, Representative Post. And I say, hey, Governor. Does that mean I'm in love with her? No. Does that mean I'm going to vote for her? No. Is she my friend? I'm going to go out to dinner every night with her? No. But I can be kind. And that's what I'm asking you to. I'm building relationships here. And I'm not necessarily building them to get political scores. I'm building relationships because they're people worth having relationships with. Maybe I can convince them to make a decision that they might agree with me on someday. I don't know. Wouldn't that be awesome? That's what this place is about. Making relationships. And then hoping that we pass things that won't hurt you and me. I can't promise that that's going to happen every time. But boy, it's what I'm working on. Okay, that's what I want to leave you with today. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend. And whenever you watch this or however you watch this, would you share it with a friend too? And again, don't forget to go to my website, billpost.us, or please go on Facebook at Bill Post for Oregon. Share this video with your friends. Please tell your friends about the things that I've said about Senate Bill 941, and just have a great weekend. And I hope to see you next week when it'll be week 13.